after you lose a cap, you have to leave the zone. Otherwise, you'll get bombarded. And one of the things that I do is even though I leave the zone, I try to be in a position where I can still shoot at the enemy while they are starting to make their way north. So in this particular screenshot, you can see that I'm able to snipe at tanks that are approaching the resupply area, and I stayed in a sniping position. If you look at my allies, perhaps some of them also did the same thing, but there's many of them that did not. For example, the Su-130PM, I know for a fact that the Su-130PM cannot snipe this resupply area because there's a hill in the way. And all these tanks over here, like the Primo Victoria, I don't think they can snipe from there. Maybe the STRV can and the Progetto can. The Scorpion G cannot snipe from there. The T-55 might be able to, I'm not sure. But when you are retreating, set up positions so that you can still hit those enemy tanks. Because remember, until that timer gets to 0, the enemy also has to remain in their sector. They can't leave that sector. So they're not going to get close to you. There's a certain position which is shown on this particular image, exactly where this tank is. You notice that right in front of my tank, there's a red line. And look at where I am on the mini-map. I came probably from Cap C, and the thing that's good about this is look at my range. I can snipe onto Cap B from this position, and I can defend my team, which is a Scorpion G, and the LT-432 and a Mauerbrecher. I can defend them if they get threatened. So what I often do when I'm attacking on Cap B, I'll send a message in chat and I'll say, could we have a sniper from Cap C to snipe into Cap B across the river, which means to basically come to this position. So if we did have that Scorpion G and the LT-432 would not be able to sit in that position. It's a very, very powerful position to be on the southern tip of this area, the southern tip, which is where I'm pointing on the mouse. If a sniper from C comes over here, he's pretty much going to stay alive, and especially if it's an autoloader, and he'll be able to knock out all these tanks. So it's a very powerful move. It's very important to know various sniping positions in the game. Most people go, for example, to the ridges over here, a very common position, but there's many positions you can take up in the game. And taking up various sniping positions are going to give you a lot of advantages that might come into play. Either, like this is a position I like to snipe from while defending Cap A, but I might reposition. For example, these are two positions. I go from here to here, and I switch between the two. So I learn two different sniping positions, and I alternate depending on where the enemy is positioned. When the enemy is in the open, I'm in this position, but when he's no longer in that position, when he gets behind that rock, I switch to a secondary sniping position. So learn all, and here's another example. Normally, I'm at the tree to the right, but when I want to hit these tanks, I move to the tree that's in the center of the screen so I can hit those tanks up there. So learn different sniping positions, and they're all over the map. And I have lots of, right now I have 3 different sniping videos for Frontline that are published, which have, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 different sniping positions. So there's a lot of them in the game, and it's very important to learn them all. When you play in Frontline, expect to do a lot of distance sniping. If you look at this particular tank on screen, he's 447 meters away from me. He's outside of my spotting range. This is very common in the game. So in order to prepare for it, you need to equip your tank with the proper equipment and with crew skills. And the equipment is going to be the V-stab and the gun laying drive, and you're going to want consumables such as food consumables, and you are going to want crew skills such as snapshot, and I know that the smooth ride is another one. So you're going to do a lot of long range sniping. Also BIA would be another example. You're going to do a lot of long range sniping. So make sure that your tanks are prepared for the long range sniping. You might want to forgo the gun rammers and use a gun laying drive instead. And of course, if you're using an autoloader, then a gun laying drive might be better than the V-stab. If you're planning on sniping, you should always try and spread out. If you look at this particular game here, you'll notice that most of my team is sniping from the same flank. It's going to make it very difficult, and not only are we in a bad location, not only are we all in the same place, but we're in a bad location because the enemy has an open run on objective 4, and they can get out of our range, no problem. So you want to spread out. If your allies are in one spot, take up another spot. And I always spread out. So like if these guys are near me, it's because I got here first and they just followed me is what happened. But what you want to do is spread out, and especially between two objectives, it's better to be between 4 and 5 than to be over here on the far flank, because at least if you're between 4 and 5, you can reposition to the objective in a hurry. You want to try and hit the enemy at choke points as much as possible. For example, this over here is Sector E. And what happens is there's certain areas, such as where I'm pointing with the mouse, where tanks often go through here. So you can wait on the opposite side and snipe through this opening, and you know that they're just going to pass through here. And there's other choke points in the map. For example, they tend to come around the lake over here, or around this way. They cross over these bridges. They often cross over this bridge going after objective 3. So line up shots. I have sniping videos which show you how to line up on a lot of these choke points.